Born in a very poor village in Haiti, raised in a 2-room mud hut among 11 brothers and sisters, our guest on today's program will share his inspiring story about the challenges he faced growing up in a home with voodoo, a fire accident that left him without arms, coming to discover the everlasting love of God as missionaries reached out to him. Stay tuned to hear his compelling story from a dark hut to a hope and a future. And so with me today is Kesmy St. And I said that right, didn't I? Yes. St. Louis. And really just glad to have him with us. And he's actually going to share a very powerful story. And yes, as you look at him today, you're going to see, and I don't know if you'll have a chance to see if the camera will give you that shot, but he doesn't have arms. But I'll tell you what, the everlasting love and the everlasting arms of God are around this young man, and so you're not going to want to change that channel. Kesmy, thank you so much for being on the program with us today.
Welcome, my pleasure.
Yes. I want you just to tell us your story and take us on this journey that you started as a young man to where you are today.
Well, like I said, you mentioned earlier in the introduction, I'm from a family with 11 and 12 children, and I'm the 6th among the 12.
You're right there in the middle, aren't you?
Yeah, right in the middle. And I was up in a unchristian family, and my dad, I grew up seeing my dad worship the devil, what we call voodoo, that come from Africa, and then they kind of worship natures. They believe everything have a spirit in it, and they worship the rivers, the trees, and the rock and things like that. They believe they have a spirit in it, and even give names to them.
So they believe. So it's almost like, I think, like pantheism, where they believe that everything, there's God in everything.
Yeah.
Is that what voodoo is specifically?
Voodoo, well, the name is basically for anybody. In Haiti, we apply it to anybody who worship witchcraft, do witchcraft, voodoo in general. But I don't know if if it's a specific way of worshiping the devil, or if it's a specific name for God. Okay. I'm not sure.
And when you say witchcraft, like, what do you mean by that, right? Because people hear that term kind of tossed around, but what did that mean in your experience?
In my experience, what it is people believe like somehow the devil can tell you the future, or if you have something wrong with you, like normal people probably don't even know, or doctor might not even know what is wrong with you, but they go to a witch doctors, and then the witch doctor tell them what's wrong with you, which is many times I never see it come real. Like as a kid, when I was like 11 years old, I was really searching for something personal, because in fact I told you I want to be a witch doctor when I was 8 years old, because this is what I see people do in the village, and I want to know what it is like. But I search and search, and I can't even see the reality of it, and it's just like a suspicious thing I think they just have, but there's nothing real about it, and I never really come across reality about it.
Okay, so you said you wanted to be a witch doctor, correct?
Yeah.
Growing up, you wanted to be a witch doctor. Okay, so why don't you tell us what happened to you as a young man?
When I was 11 years old, almost 12, I had a seizure and fell into a cooking fire.
You fell into a cooking
fire, yes.
Okay.
And I was at my aunt's house, and in the village, my village actually, it's about 600 people, like everybody knows everybody. And I went to my aunt's house, and after my aunt has done cooking in the kitchen, there wasn't anybody in the kitchen. So I went inside the kitchen, and I locked the door and had my seizure while nobody was around.
So was the fire on the ground?
And yeah, the fire in the ground. They use like words words to make fire, and they cook. They don't use stove like you guys do here.
Okay, so it was like a wood fire then.
Yeah,
okay.
wood fire. And then I was in the kitchen, and had my seizure. Nobody was around, so I had the seizure and fell into the cooking fire. And then a rice seller that was passing by, people who sells rice with the rice in her head, and she heard a noise in the kitchen, and she called for my aunt and said, "There's a baby in the kitchen crying. She doesn't know what's wrong, but it seems like something wrong with the person in the kitchen."
How old were you again?
I was like almost 12,
11. Almost 11, 12 years old. Okay.
Yeah, almost. And I was really little though. People thought I was like 8 years old when I was 11 years old.
Okay.
And I fell into the cooking fire, and then my aunt come to see what was wrong to see what happened in the kitchen, and they saw me all laying in the fire, all cooked.
Oh my goodness.
My legs and my arms was completely cooked, and I lost my conscience, and then didn't even know myself until 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to call my dad, and my dad come to get me from the hospital. And my dad was so shocked, he didn't even know what to do. And the first thing that come into his mind is to go to the witch doctors and to see what was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. And I think you talked a little bit about this already. So the witch doctors, so your father believed that a witch doctor could do what for you?
The witch doctor can either tell him what was wrong with him or could heal me.
Okay, so either he could heal you or he could tell your dad what was wrong with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of like fortune teller.
Like fortune telling.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my dad, actually, I went like 2 summers ago, I went back to Haiti. I was talking to my dad. What did you believe about? He said, I don't know. So whatever the witch doctors tell me, not that I believe it could be true, but I believe somehow they know better than I do.
Okay.
And
so he was just looking for some source, some help. And in his mind, the witch doctor had more to offer than what he could.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when I was, after they get me out of the fire and took me to my dad's house, I was laying there in my dad's house. They started putting toothpaste on my bones because there wasn't any doctors or clinic in the village where I live. So my dad tried all kind of home remedies, including what the witch doctor gave him, see if I can heal.
And the witch doctor gave him what, like ointments?
Yeah, ointment or to give him me, to put on me. However, instead of getting better, I get more affected. And after 3 days, basically there's nothing that can do. And good friends of my dad come to my dad and say, if I were you, it's better that you let the child, you done something, kill the child instead of letting him going through all this pain and suffering.
Because it was your arms and your legs,
and my legs and my stomach.
And your stomach.
Only my heart, part of my stomach, my whole body almost touched by the fire. Only my heart didn't touch by the fire.
Okay.
So my dad started do all these remedies and none of them helped, and I started getting affected. And my dad, like I said, was a poor family and they didn't have enough, and to take me out of the village to go to a clinic in the city will need a lot of money for the doctors, and also there wasn't any traffic road where they can ride or take a taxi to go to the city. So what my dad did, he sells all his cows or whatever things he had and get the money and take a boat ride take a boat ride to the city named St. Mark nearby.
So he put you in a boat, took you to the city, and what happened when you were in the city?
And when I went to the city to the doctor, all the doctor was afraid to touch me because they thought I was gonna die anyway, because I was really affected.
And this was like some of the better hospitals in Haiti at the time.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a government hospital. It wasn't the best, but it was the one that my dad can afford to go to. And then when I get to the hospital, the doctor told my mother, there's no way this child's gonna live the way he is because he's really, really burned so bad and really affected, and his arms, like my finger was actually falling apart, and there was barely any skin on my arms. And then I remember actually one night, my dad told me there was worms crawling over my body because I was so affected, and
oh my goodness,
him and my mother had to stay overnight and picking worms out of my belly.
Worms, you mean? Worms. Oh my goodness. Wow. So you're in this hospital, and what happens?
And when I get to the hospital, the doctor tell my mother, well, his arm is the most affected part of his body. I think it would better that there's like 50% chance if we cut his body, maybe he might survive.
Cut his arms, you mean?
Cut my arms, maybe I might survive from it. And my mother said, well, whatever is possible, do it. I want to see my child alive. And then the doctor take me in the surgery room and cut off my arms and bring me back to the hospital.
And there were no, so there was no consultation with any other doctors who might have maybe had a different approach. It was, I mean, this was the best care that was around, and there was just a decision made to do this to you, but there really wasn't any other kind of collaboration with anyone else to really make a decision to find out if this was the best decision.
Yeah, and even that, like, there was, of course, there was few doctors, but the thing is, but all of them said really the possible thing is like cutting his arm because it was really affected. And then after they cut my arms and they took me back to the room, to the hospital, it's in to the room where they have all kind of sick people laying in the hospital. And the worst part at that journey in my life was not only I lost my arms, but it was like the stress and the emotional I feel after I lose my arms. And among all those people who were sick, it's like being in the room, you have to provide everything, your own bed, sheet, and your own medicine, your own food, everything that you need in the hospital, you have to provide that.
You have to provide that?
To provide that.
Like, I don't understand that. The hospital doesn't provide any of that?
No, we have to have money to buy everything yourself.
Okay, so your family, in other words, was responsible to make sure you ate, that you had clean sheets, that you were being cared for. And I know that when I read your story too, you just talked about the pain and not being able to sleep at night, and sometimes needing to even get a shot in order to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, and that was the time too. After I lose my arms, of course, after I have the surgery, I went to a trauma, I guess you can say.
Yes,
like,
of course.
Keep like waking up at night and feel like the knife or going to my arms and cutting. And I was going through so much pain and emotional problem and stress, and just imagine what will my life be.
Right.
And I can see my mother the whole time sitting by me, looking at her. It's like even make me, you know, feel more, because I was the one who's supposed to be looking out for her someday in my life, and I feel like she will be the one who looking out for me for the rest of my life. And I can see my dad will be like that. And my dad one time sitting by me, I don't remember saying that to him, but when I went back to see him 2 summers ago, he told me, I remember one night Kesmy sitting by you, and you told me, Dad, I don't know why you are the one who doing that for me. I should be the one doing what you are doing for me right now.
Oh my goodness!
And
wow.
It was really a tough time for me, being in a situation like this, especially in Haiti. You know, everybody, even people with arms, it's kind of hard to live a life that you wanted to live, or with job and anything. And I feel myself like losing my arms. It's like life is over for me.
So you're 11 years old, 12 years old, and there's kind of this psychological warfare that's going on too, thinking about like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? You know, how am I going to contribute to my family? What's going to happen? But your aspiration, though, as a child, was to be a witch doctor. Yes. Why did you want to be a witch doctor?
Well, as a kid, I grew up. This is the only thing I see. Like again, I said earlier, people every time something happened in the house, in the village, like anytime somebody happened to do something good, they always attributed it to the devil. They said the devil gave them the power to do what they'd done.
So the devil would give the witch doctor the power to do
fortune tellers, or do a sort of kind of miracles,
healings or whatever it was. Okay.
And I grew up in myself, and I said, well, if that is the case, I want to be one, you know. And as a kid, of course, what you see and what you can experience is what you believe.
Okay.
But really, to me, I never really have a close reality and see any reality in it.
So it's kind of about the power of it, maybe to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was a witch doctor who used to come. I haven't actually tell anybody about that because I'm writing a book about my testimony, and I include those in it. Basically, I just started. I haven't really finished yet.
Okay.
And then there was a witch doctor who lived close by us. As a kid, we, like group of kids of us, sometime when we hanging out, he always come and tell us, you know, we went to the river and I see mermaid and do all that kind of thing. And to us, we wonder, how does he experience that? I want to see if it's really real, you know. Although we don't know if it's true, never if it's true or not. but you know, this is what. And myself, when he tell me stuff like this, I want to see for myself.
So what did he tell you about
He
the
tell us
river or something?
He go under the river, and there's a house, just the world under the river, just like the world you
Oh,
experience
okay,
like that.
okay. So there was like there was another reality
Yeah.
under this river.